Okay. Just for your information, we are both recorded live. We're streaming this, so all actions are seen by the public. So we'll go ahead and call us into session. Ask for a motion to go into the Board of Equalization.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we enter in the Board of Equalization.
You have a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. So we recognize and support your right to come register your concern and appeal at the appraisals that are given. Our duty is to hear both sides and make a determination based upon the facts as we see them. The assessor must assess values at market value on all properties in Bannock County. The appeal process gives the property owner the chance to appeal said value before this board. If for some reason the decision rendered does not meet with your satisfaction, we encourage you to file an appeal with the State Board of Tax Appeals. Another option available is relief through the district courts. It is imperative that we focus on property valuations, not on taxes, and not on people. So with that said, we'd ask the Deputy Clerk to swear everyone that is going to participate in a hearing in at this time.
Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that any testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
John, you're first. Go ahead and have a seat here.
Thank you.
The way this will run is I'll turn 3 minutes over to you. I'll have you first state your name and your address, and then I'll turn 3 minutes over to you. If we have questions, we'll ask questions. Then I'll turn 3 minutes over to the assessor's table, and if you have questions, we'll do it again. Then you'll have 2 minutes for a rebuttal. And then the commissioners will have a discussion at that time and come to a conclusion.
Thank you for the explanation.
It's your time.
John Vladimir, Drake Vladimir Tsev, 10034 South Marsh Creek Road, which is considered McCammon. Okay, go ahead and move into my comments, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Your time begins now.
The reason I'm appealing the assessed value is basically twofold. Most importantly, the house is in a very serious state of disrepair, and I think that may not have been considered. I'm a licensed engineer, so and I do cost estimating for a living. I would estimate it's definitely 6 figures worth of repairs to the house. I wrote a bunch of examples. The second factor that surprised me at the valuation, if I did, a wealthy gentleman from Utah did give me a written offer on the house pretty recently. I think it was last spring, if I'm not mistaken. And he offered $225,000 without knowledge of all the repairs that it needs. And so that to me was a little bit of a benchmark. And as far as repairs, I wrote some notes to myself. You know, the age where I needed reading glasses, but I never found them. Just some examples of some of the things that it needs. The water out there in Marsh Valley is really, really hard. Very mineralized, real sulfur. So all the homes have to be on a water softener system. You know, it has a system, but it's completely non-functional. So it needs to be replaced, which is a pretty significant investment in itself. But then that leads to damage to all the fixtures. Over time, you get real severe mineral scale that they become irreparable. So a lot of fixtures need to be replaced. The plumbing system, the house is very close to 50 years old. I think it's 51 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And it's all the original piping. It all is ready to be replaced. It's got numerous leaks, and right now I'm just kind of band-aiding, fixing it as I can. It leads to drywall damage and holes in the walls, etc. None of the bathrooms in the house are fully functional. The master bath, the toilet, and the shower do not work. There's a second bathroom on that main level. The bathtub's real heavily damaged and needs to be replaced. We do use it because that's how we hygiene, but it's severe. And I brought photos if that's helpful. They're really poor quality photos, but there's a walkout basement, excuse me, that's partially finished. And that basement bathroom, the toilet, the shower, and the sink are all non-functional. So there's a bathroom there, but none of the plumbing works in it. The home does not have a furnace, and so about a third of the rooms don't have any source of heat. It was built in the early 70s with that heat resistance. You know, you have copper wire sandwiched between 2 layers of drywall and ceiling. It's a nice system, but over time, I think what happens is the copper, heats, expands, and cracks, eventually it breaks, and then that's no longer functional. And so in about a third of the rooms in the house, the only source of heat is just plug in, portable liquid heaters. And it's not set up, there's no ducting, so there's no way to, portable way to install central heat. It needs a lot of internal finished carpentry on the inside. I brought photos. Did replace the windows when we got the house. They were the old, is that 3 minutes already?
That's your time.
Wow.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, one question we do have is, I'm just looking through the notes trying to see, can the appellant speak to if we've been able to do a physical inspection in the last year or two, perhaps?
Has anybody from the assessor's office come and inspected your house?
Not to my knowledge. If they were there, it would have been external only, and I didn't know they were there.
All right, thank
No other questions.
you. Your 3 minutes begin now.
Thank you. So in reviewing the home, we do show it's a 1972 home of a fair quality. And this is pretty typical for what we've seen out in this area, both in the McCammon and the Ingham area. Both areas have, similar concerns as far as hard water. We do know that some have water softeners, some don't, and that does potentially lead to some maintenance issues that we've seen out there that most homeowners have had to deal with. When listening to the appellant about the condition of the home, it sounds like this definitely warrants a site inspection. Looking through our call information before the BOE process started, it doesn't look like the appraisers were able to link up with the property owner and get anything scheduled. If I take a look at the overall condition of the property, just on what might happen if we found enough information to warrant a change, it would actually, it could result in a recalculated value of about $215,000 down from the current $302,000. That's all going to depend on how many issues we found on that site visit. It could be less, rarely would it be more, but I would be comfortable going with the appellant's request of $225,000 until we can complete a site inspection and feel comfortable that we're accurately representing the details of the home.
Then just a quick question. You did state that you're a licensed engineer,
Yes, sir.
and that you have that, so you're a PE?
I am, but in Montana, not Idaho.
Okay. Because you should then, because you've given an opinion of engineering this, we need your stamp, and we need whatever you need turned into the thing for the record.
Any rebuttal? I mean, they've come back to us and says that they agree with your assessment of $225,000 at this time until they have the ability to, so you still have 2 minutes if you wish.
Yeah, I would like to use 2 minutes. $225,000 was an offer that assumed minimal repairs, and there's very, very extensive repairs that would be needed to bring it up to a standard where I think I could sell it for $225,000. So I didn't mean to imply that I thought it was worth $225,000. And then when the repairs are completed, if the house was in a reasonably presentable condition, I think $225,000 would probably be fair. But I didn't mean to imply that's the current value. The other thing, I guess I'll just finish. It's not really a rebuttal per se, but just some of the other things that they'll find if they come out. The roof was damaged last year in the wind event, unfortunately. It's got no garage and just a dirt driveway doesn't drain properly. Actually drains towards the house. That needs to be corrected. And the house has a deck that's completely rotted. I don't even allow anybody on it. I don't allow the family on it. I don't allow guests on it because it's not structurally sound. It needs to be replaced. I just don't have the time and money to deal with that right now. So that's just more examples of the condition of the home.
So,
What I would then propose is that we just go back to the 2020 value of 203
until they have time.
until they
Yep.
come out and revalue it.
Okay.
My only concern there, and I'll go back to the assessor's table. In 2019, it was at 233,000, and then we went down to 203. Is there a reason? Any explanation?
There's no specific reason that would directly impact this property alone. It would have been for the whole area.
For the whole area. Okay.
I just leave it at 20 assessment until, you have an opportunity to do it then. I agree with you. I'll make a motion.
Motion?
Mr. Chairman, on parcel RPRRCOT 0000100, that this parcel be returned to its 2020 value of $203,695, with the condition that the assessor be able to perform a site visit and inspect the house both inside and out. Are you okay with that, sir?
Of course.
Mr. Chairman, that is my motion.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we went back to last year's value, 203. If you're not happy with that, or if they're not happy with that, you both have the right to appeal.
Well, that seems reasonable to me.
All right.
If I'm allowed to ask a question, do I need to follow up and get you a stamp still? or is-
No, you're okay if you're not a licensed engineer, I know.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being reasonable, by the way. Thank you. I'm all
You're done, Bruce? Please state your name, and then your 3 minutes will begin.
My name is Bruce Coleman. I reside at 5780 Beal Drive in South Tower. I got this year's assessment. I'm looking at the current assessment notice. My value last year was just under 100,000, the net property value. It's now listed at over 153. So that's a 56% increase in my assessed value. And I'm thinking that's a pretty hefty increase in assessed value. Realizing that the home market here is a little out of whack, but even taking into account that I think 56% is a little bit higher, especially considering that my taxes based on...
Mr. Chairman, point of information, just to make sure I'm on the right. Sir, you stated 98,000 to 153. You are using your value after the property exemption?
Net taxable property value.
Yeah, so that's after the property exemption. So
Correct.
so the actual exemption, the actual property assessment is 196,962 of last year, and this year is 278,411.
Correct.
And then we have an exemption. We
Correct.
don't look at the exemption part first. We're just looking at
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Just wanted-
I figured I would look at that because that, to me, is the actual increase.
Completely understood, but that's, yeah.
And actually on that, you got $2,500 or $25,000 more this
Understood.
year. Okay.
Understood. I know that. which
All right,
isn't
we're all
enough.
on the same page. Yeah.
I was just
So,
confused here
do I
for a
get
minute.
another minute back now?
You're fine.
So in any event, I was waiting for the state to update their rate schedule for this year, and they never did. So I took last year's rates and applied it to this year's assessed value, and it went up 44% on tax. So between the assessment to me going up 56%, my taxes are affected by going up 44%. So when I used last year's rates, I estimated my taxes being at 2420. Using the current one with the state, it's actually going to be, well, estimated at 2,600. So that's a big jump from 1,800. And that 1,800 last year, I put back in that $257 or whatever that the state gave as a credit. So my actual tax would have been a little over 1,800. So as part of it, I just briefly listed some homes, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, on Realtor.com, and they were in the 250, 260 range. And I think I had estimated mine about 228, which is roughly 15% increase in valuation, which, you know, on my first shot in the dark felt reasonable. So I just, I understand that, in all likelihood, your taxes are going up, but to have my assessed value go up that much is really, what, for a retired guy like me, paying almost $800 more, over $800 more than last, well, excluding the credit, is a chunk of money.
Okay, thank you. Question?
No questions.
Your 3 minutes.
Thank you. In reviewing this subject property, we show the home to be built in 1992 of average quality and average condition. With the square footage, we show 1364 above grade, and the same in the basement, only 364 of which we list as finished. When we took a look at what comparable sales are doing in the area, we're definitely finding that last year's sales, adjusted up to January 1st of this year, definitely show that the subject property is within the range that we would expect to find it for what sales were selling for last year, both in square footage or price per square foot and in total sales price. When we looked over the file looking for any opportunities for any adjustments or any corrections, we did not find any opportunities there. So our recommendation would be that we do stay with the assessed value of the $278,411. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, 2 minutes.
I don't know what to say. I mean, it's pretty well cut and dry. Like I said, I did show properties, granted maybe not in my area, but this is what was listed at the time I looked it up. And they're in the 250, 270 range, or 250, 260. So all I'm asking for, I'm not asking to go back to last year's assessed value at all. But I am asking for a small measure of relief to, some amount of consideration, I should say.
All right.
It's, like I said, $800 is a bit of a hit.
All right,
And
thank you. Commissioners?
You know, again, where it's sitting at, as of today, it's probably right, maybe January 1st, it might be a little steep.
We've looked at the 15%,
Yep.
and so I believe that we would go with the 228.5.
228.5?
That's probably the 15%.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move then on parcel RPRPCC 2001100 that we adjust the property to 228.5 with the adjustment being made off of the improvement.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 I only have one question. What was that parcel number you used?
The one that was indicated, RPRPCC 2001100.
Okay, I didn't hear a zero.
So, we've adjusted it to what you requested. Like I say, both have the ability still to appeal that further. Other than that, we consider this case closed.
Thank you for your due time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Looks like Darren Taysom, it says here that he was unable to attend. Jason, you got your time?
Get this one pulled up.
Let this guy see my brother's house and see if he wants to talk about the unfair amount of value applied.
I know Darren. Used to live in Lincoln. Used to live up in Inman.
Yeah, when we looked at this home, I mean, we're talking about a 1977 home with just under 3,200 square feet of finished space. It's been drawn in new for this year. When we had two different appraisers take a look at it and look for any opportunities for any corrections there, and we didn't find any. It appears that they spoke with the appellant, and all of the details of the home sounded accurate. And so when we looked at what homes were selling for up in the general area, again, both on sales price during 2020, one of them actually in 2019, and on a per square foot basis, this one certainly falls to the lower end of what we saw in last year's sales. So our recommendation would be that we stay with the current assessed value.
Comments?
15% would take us to 349 and some change.
Okay.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman, on parcel RPR 385-101-3601, make a motion that we change the assessed value to 349,621 with the change coming off the improvements.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And the next one is Rusty Jackman. Didn't appear. This kind of, it was very interesting. You know who he is.
I do.
You know whose son he is.
I do know whose son he is. Yes.
Your 3 minutes.
So this is one that there was a lot of discussion on in the office, looking for any opportunities for correction there. When we looked at the home, from the information that we had available, it absolutely appears that the value was certainly within reason for what we expect for a home. I believe the appellant had a concern about the area that they chose to build their house in. But what we found was a home that certainly is nicer than many of the homes in the area where they chose to build. And we did not find any outstanding opportunities for correction. There was an offer to rejudge the overall quality of the home that would have dropped the value down to $292,081. And that realistically, for the quality that we observed of the home, is probably on the lower end. But we could find no justification to lower the value beyond that.
Commissioners?
The appellant says that they feel a 20% increase would be from last year would be more correct, and I'm okay with that. That would take the value to 252.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move on parcel number RPRPMCD001301. The value be adjusted to $252,000 with the adjustments being made off the improvements.
Have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. With that being said, did you bring anything for us to go over,
To read.
to read?
Not yet. I'm working
Okay.
on getting them over to you.
Okay. We have some administrative, and we'll go over them and knock them out.
And is this the administrative file for today? These are all for today's administrative file?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Which one do you want to start with?
Amos Arnold. This is 4 properties.
This is 2 properties for Amos. These are the 2 that we have, I believe, yeah, that we deal with in tax deed hearing all the time.
Yeah, our appraisers spent a fair amount of time going back and forth with the appellant in our pre-BOE conversations. I believe they are 2 different twin homes, and the appellant had a lot of concerns that we did not have the sketches accurate and that we had our square footage off. So we had asked a few times for the actual blueprints of the home, and one of these sets of twin homes is smaller than the other, and the appellant had sent the smaller set for all 4 of them multiple times, and we offered to go out and remeasure, and they didn't want us to go out there, and so I believe eventually they were able to get the actual blueprints for the correct homes, and when everything had been drawn in, we found that there were some small corrections that could be made that are reflected on the worksheet values, but beyond that, everything absolutely looked accurate.
So it actually is 4 properties.
Yes, it is.
And
Yes, this is a different one that I was thinking of.
Okay.
This is not the one, this is the one that came in last year, that they had appraisals of the ones to the left and to the right of them, and they built an identical. And then they used it. And so, this is one that we followed an appraisal and some things that was at the very beginning of the year, and we did not time adjust it last year. So the appraisal was at the very front end, and then we had of that year, and then we have this one. So you really have 2 full years of appreciation that was done on top of BOE from last year in a sense, because we didn't do it. Because we didn't take the time adjusted appraisal, we just took the appraisal as it was on face value from 2 years ago. So,
honestly, looking at the worksheets, you come down to 202,870 from 225, and 202,870 from 21, and then the other one, one side was at 177, and then the other side, you come down to 177.
I followed the,
Adjust all
Okay.
4 of them per.
yep. Here, I'll do it. I'll read all this, Nancy. You ready? On properties RPR PQT 1000600 700 RPR PQT 8001100 and parcel 1200, that we accept the worksheet value as presented by the assessor's office.
Have a motion, all in favor say aye.
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 Which one do you want next?
The next one is,
One
Center, 151. Jason, when you're ready.
Thank you. Just a moment. Yeah.
Holy crap, he wants to use the 9% cap rate?
Yeah, when we took a look at this one, this property has not yet had its conversion completed, so it was subject to a 3.9% trending on the improvements only. And when we looked at other comparable office spaces that have recently sold, we certainly did find that the per square foot value is on the lowest end of all of our comps, which we would expect, it's the largest building of all of them. But we did find it to certainly be within the realm of what we have seen selling per square foot in the market. Randy went out and did a site inspection, just looking for anything else that stood out, and we didn't uncover any additional details that would have influenced our decision any different.
So the only difference from this year to last year is a $43,000 change. Mr. Chairman, I would move on parcel RPPOC 224300 that we uphold the assessment. Oh, and 243900 as well.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. The next one is Brent and Carrie Meyer.
The first parcel that I've got here, and I believe they may all be similar, we're looking at some fourplexes out in the Chubbuck area. And when we looked at what we've seen other fourplexes selling for last year, we certainly felt that this was within an acceptable range. We've seen fourplexes last year sell for upwards of $389 before we looked at time adjustment. So when we looked at them, we looked for ones that were of a similar condition, and we were able to find a fair amount of them, and we certainly feel that these have been assessed equitably, not only with similar ones, but in accordance with what we're seeing in the market for sales.
I guess my question is, why have they been so low? I don't know.
With a lot of these, this is a property that was just drawn in for this year. And from a lot of the sales activity we've looked at over the last year for multi-family dwellings.
Fourplexes are on fire right now.
Yeah, they're going for an uncomfortable level today. Last year they were going for a pretty healthy increase over where they had been. And when we looked at historical sales on them, it really appears that they had been assessed for quite some time, probably on the lower end. And so as we start to get these converted and drawn in, we are seeing some sharp increases before we even consider what's happened most recently in the market.
Okay, so we went from 47,000 a unit to 80,000 a unit, which, I mean, they're selling. That's the whole problem is that they're selling. I get that. You know, I looked at. It's kind of weird that they sat at 141 in 17, 141 in 18, 141 in 19. They went to 190 in 19, and then it was corrected back to 147, and they went to 190 again last year. And so really there has been no I mean, I have kind of a hard time adjusting or changing. You basically have had stagnant and a positive growth for the last 4 years, where we've been seeing 10 to 15% growth for the last 4 years. You know, I hate to say this, but at 190,000, if you've seen 60% growth and you've never been assessed, you're at 3 or 4. I mean, so yeah, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't really have a,
I don't see them either.
Motion?
Mr. Chairman, for parcels. hold on. Wow, it's parcels RPRCELK 000200300400400. I move that we uphold the assessor's value.
Have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Upheld. Next one is Wildwood Holdings and Del Kirkham. So, just a question on this one. To claim an agricultural exemption, do you have to be the one using the property for that purpose?
You can lease it.
You can lease it?
Yeah, as long as the property, as we understand, as long as the property is being utilized for an agricultural. We have a lot of people that lease their land to other parties that do that. So the state tax commission has made the recommendation that if you can't brand something, it's not considered.
Well, we don't brand sheep.
ag. That is a
We don't
fair
brand,
point.
brand llamas or emus,
Most people.
chickens, horses. What else don't we brand that's agriculture, that's considered ag? Wheat? Wheat? Do we brand wheat? Corn? Potatoes? I want a little Idaho Spud brand on every potato that qualifies for ag. And Mr. Kirkham does state the IRS and the USDA both classify bees as livestock.
Qualifies as preponderance of evidence, if you ask me.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask for parcel number RPR 3851024002 be returned to the assessor's office and given and parcel 3 RPR 40130037001 be returned and an ag exemption applied as correctly and returned to us in a timely manner before the close of the week.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any concerns there? All right, thank you. Mark Lynn.
As a appraisal sheet, not an actual appraisal. Yeah. It's just showing 2,340 gross living feet. And what are we showing the living space of this parcel?
We're showing 2,365 square feet above grade, 1,617 in the basement, 933 of which is finished.
So it says basement has 1133.
Yeah, it looks like there is potentially a 500 square foot discrepancy on the basement.
So I would say, what is the value at 1,133 square feet in the basement?
Oh, I apologize, I found the discrepancy. When there is a basement and something classified as a basement garage, on our workup, it will count the basement garage square footage in the total basement amount, but it doesn't add value for the basement, it's just the way that the system shows it. So looking at the sketch itself, the actual basement square footage that we are listing is 1,243. The discrepancy there is likely that I believe the fee appraisals are measured from the inside and the mass appraisals are measured from the outside, so there's typically a discrepancy there.
They'll take the outside measurements.
And if we look at the total square footage and the reported finished square footage on the basement from that appraisal sheet, it looks like we're in the same ballpark now.
I do remember this parcel from last year, because the gas line that runs across the guy's lawn. The problem is the gas line is taken into account at the cost of the lot and the price. And as the discussion happened last year, you purchased the lot knowing that you had a gas line running through there. I would say there would be some correction of value that would be given to the lot specifically in the land, but there still is a value of the land, you know, to where the lot itself, it might not be the same cost as the neighbors, because it appears that it's the only one that has the gas line running across it, but there is still value to build the house there and have open space. So
We're within $3,000
yeah,
of 15%.
so I don't see the
Motion?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, on personal RPCLS 0000200, I move that we uphold the assessor's value.
Have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next one is Hopewell Square.
On the Pocatello Square, the appellant submitted, I believe, a 93 to 98 page document detailing different economic trends, and we went through and we were specifically looking for their income information. We found that information to be problematic when we worked it up on our own, because these properties are on a triple net lease, so the tenant is paying the utilities, the property taxes, the maintenance fee, they're paying everything. But on the workup, the appellant wanted to account for those as deductions from their own value. So when we did the workup using what is allowed and not allowable on a triple net, we certainly found that our values definitely appear to be in line. When we looked with any of these commercial properties that reach out to us, one of the things we're looking for is we've had plenty of calls over the last 6 months about economic impacts of the pandemic, and what we're always asking for and looking for is, can they provide us with any income information that show they've actually suffered anything here locally in our market. Usually it's on a national level that information is cited. We have yet to receive any information on a local level. And when we look at complexes like this, we don't show an increased vacancy rate one way or the other over the last 2 years. So we certainly haven't received any data that would lead us to believe that there has been anything that has affected this parcel differently than any other commercial parcel like it in Pocatello.
Okay.
So you're showing on this one, you're showing what, 2.8 million for the land? Is that what that is on the, my copy's really grainy.
2.8 million,
2.8, that's correct.
improvement 7.1.
Okay. How many acres was this? Thought this was a ton of acreage.
This is
Nine?
Nine. Yeah, 9 acres.
9.1
What is it, 42,000 square feet? No.
43,560.
43,560. 395,000 roughly. I'm just curious what the price per square footage is.
Like we're just over $7.
Yeah, $7.10 a square foot, which going right now is $8 to $15.
To give you some comparison, most of the Pocatello Square properties across the street, smaller properties though, the majority of those are in at $9 a square foot.
So I think it's in the ballpark.
these guys have not suffered any loss of tenants other than Office Max, but that was gone before the.
Mr. Chairman, I move on parcel number RPRPPSQ 000501 that we uphold the value of the assessor's office.
A motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes uphold unanimously. All right, with that, we'll be at recess until